Hi, everybody. This is Chris Rivera. Spoke to you guys yesterday, and I have with me Katey Maddux, and she's the founder and CEO of Millennial Accounting. She'll be doing a deep introduction in a moment. I just want to make sure that everybody's safe and sound out there heading into the Labor Day weekend. Today we're talking about the nuances of remote working, but surprisingly, Katey and I are both are remote, and then also doing this for our audience today. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but first, Katey, thank you so much for joining me today. Please tell our audience everything about you.
Everything? That's a long story. Well, my company,
relevant to accounting.
Short version. My company, Millennial Accounting, is turning 4 years old next month. And yeah, woohoo. And I also have a speaking business. I speak to women on helping them find purpose in their pain and turn their trauma into triumph, on healing from sexual trauma. And yeah, I've been working remotely for years now. I started in the corporate world and then realized I don't need to have somebody directing my life. I don't need to have them telling me when to go on vacation. I can just take my computer and go work from Costa Rica, Vietnam,
yes,
world. So I was like, why would I ever want a boss, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. So have you've always, so you've never really had an office, or you just started working remotely right away? So tell us about that.
I had a corporate job, and then I moved overseas, and I was living in Asia, and I got really sick. I got a really severe case of dengue fever. And so I had to come home and recover. And my mom has owned her accounting firm now for about 34 years. And so, well, I had worked for her all through high school to get cash. So I'd done basic bookkeeping for years. And she said, you know, I'm not taking on new clients. My plate is full, but I'm constantly being approached to take on new clients. So she goes, I have one that's been requesting me. Why don't I give them to you? Because I was at my parents' house recovering from the sickness and I couldn't go back into corporate world. Right. So she said, why don't you work on this while you're here? And then when you're better, you can go back to your regular life. So after doing that for about 6 months, I said, so I can just keep doing this, but go back to my backpacking life. I don't have to go back to my corporate job life. And so I thought, well, why would I ever do that? So I took on another couple clients. And for the first year of my business, I was backpacking Asia and Europe. And I've been in Miami now for November will be 2 years. And so some of the time I'm working here, some of the time I'm working overseas. I now have a team that works with me too. So it's great.
Yeah, no, that's a really awesome story. Similar to me, I've been doing client relations for over 15 years now, but I'm fairly new to the accounting industry. However, the idea of remote working throughout many industries has just been a given. I mean, remote working is nothing new. It's been around since the 80s, right? But the accounting industry is interesting because there was a lot of hesitations there to do so. Did you have any hesitations, starting off, or?
Since for me, it was kind of a means to an end, I didn't really have any fear because it was supposed to be a short-term solution. It was just going to be, I was going to do this one client for my mom. It was a huge cleanup job. It took 6 months. Women had 4 companies that were commingled. And the person that was doing her books, we were like, how did she even get here? It was such a mess. It took us 6 months to detangle. My mom was helping me because it was way more complex than we thought it was going to be. And so I was like, well, I'll just get this one cleanup job done. And then I'll wash my hands of this, So had I realized that this was going to turn into a 4-year remote business with multiple clients and multiple teams, I probably would have been a little bit more scared than I was.
Right. You were in the right situation at the right time, and it just everything fell into place, which is awesome. So it works, and you've been doing this for some time now. So there are a lot of starting a new firm, or now with the ongoing pandemic, trying to become fully virtual or partly virtual has been kind of some hiccups along the way, right? And you make it easy, no big deal. But what would you recommend some firms, thinking about this? So either starting their own firm or trying to move that step over to becoming fully virtual?
I think having an onboarding process is a game changer, because not only does it kind of give you a structure, okay, every time somebody emails me as a prospective client, I do this. And then for me, if somebody contacts me, the first thing I do, I say, thank you for reaching out to Millennial Accounting. Can you answer a few more questions so I can get to know a little bit more about your business before we even go into anything? Here's a list of 5 questions. What systems are you using? Are your books up to date? Are you in QuickBooks? What industry is your business? Because some of them, by answering that, I can say we're not a good fit, and I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting your time,
Yep.
And just having that process in place. Okay, when they answer that, then it goes to a free consultation. Okay, then it goes to the interview and assessment. Having that onboarding process makes it easier on me. I'm not trying to constantly reinvent the wheel, right? Every time somebody calls me. And secondly, I can tell that to the client. The first time that we have a meeting, I'll say, here's my process. I do A, you do B, I do C, you do D, I do E. And that builds trust with them, because they're like, oh, this isn't a new business. She knows what she's doing. Even if they have no idea if I know how to do accounting correctly, they have some sense of organization. There's some sense of process, because a lot of people, when they're looking for accountants or bookkeepers, they're already kind of in chaos mode, or they wouldn't be calling us,
Right. Oh, well said. You're absolutely right. So for you automatically had to train your client. This is the way we're going to do business, if we're going to do business. So you're getting the right client, and a lot of times, it's about the quality of the client. You want to make this a mutual benefiting relationship, and they're there for you. And so you're setting those expectations. They're liking you. You're coming at them so organized, like you said. You don't even know if you know accounting, but they're comfortable, and that's the key thing. All right, and now if you're becoming fully virtual. I mean, most of the clients are understanding that things have changed, and what are the next steps. But it starts with you, the owner and CPA. So you got to make sure that you know what your expectations are and outline clearly. Otherwise, the client's just going to kind of get lost in the mix.
Right. And knowing what your expectations, like exactly what you said, is so important. Not just being able to voice them to them, but know what they are. When people contact me and they say, yeah, I want somebody who's 30 hours a week, I say, I'm not for you. I can't give you 30 hours a week, Or if they say I want somebody in-house, I say, I'm remote only. I'm sorry, I'm not coming to your office. So some of the things we can just weed out at the beginning, because I know what I want. I know what kind of clients work well with me. I'm often overseas. We don't necessarily do, like, we plan phone calls, but people can't just pick up the phone and call me. I keep my phone on do not disturb. I have planned hours of phone calls during the day. And if I'm overseas, I tell my clients, hey, I'm going to be overseas for these dates. If you need me, schedule time, we do a Zoom. You know what I mean? So they have to be willing to work with certain types of remote businesses. They have to be comfortable with that, or it's going to cause friction. Nobody's going to be happy.
So there's a lot of benefits of working remotely. So what would you say top 3 or 5 benefits are?
I think there's no income cap is one of the top ones. There's no boss, right? You get to decide how much you work. I feel like that's kind of hand in hand, like calendar and income. You decide how much you work. You decide when you work. You decide where you work. There's just so much freedom. Secondly, you don't have to be in relationships with people who aren't kind to you, frankly. Like, you don't have to be in an office or be around people. You might take on clients that you don't necessarily prefer their personality, but since you're never really in the room with them, you only have to deal with that occasionally. And or being the business owner, I never put my clients in contracts. I always tell them, if for any reason that you are unhappy, you are free to leave. If any reason that I am unhappy, I'm going to dissolve our partnership. There's no reason for there to be that friction. If they're unhappy, why would I hold them in a contract?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And because essentially, I mean, the same thing with me. I visit clients via Zoom. We've been using Zoom for almost 2 years now. And so rarely do I get to meet them one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And so the expectation is set there. And so you're absolutely right. If the client's comfortable with that, there's going to be no issues with it. And then when I travel, I try to get and visit with clients when I can. And it's always, a great experience to do so. But setting those expectations again. a lot of benefits. But also, I think too, is health. I find that being more productive, making your own schedule, very important, like you said. But I just feel that if I wanna work at 8 o'clock at night, I can work at 8 o'clock at night. If I want to work at 6 a.m., I don't feel like I'm on a specific schedule. So then I'm able to take more productive breaks, go to the gym or outdoor exercise, whatever you can do. I find that there's a lot of health benefits. What do you think?
I definitely agree. I was in a car accident. So for the last year, I was in physical therapy for 2 to 3 hours a day, you know? And
Wow.
so it was so refreshing to be able to say, okay, assistant, here's the work I need you to do. I'm going to be out of the office from 1 to 5, 4 days a week, you know, but I'm still going to be able to run my business. I have a team in place. I have a process in place. My clients, I keep them in the loop, you know. These are the times that's good to call me. These are the times that I'm available to you. You can always text me if there's having that open line of communication, so they don't ever feel like they can't get a hold of you. You know, I'm like, don't text me business questions. It's not secure. But if I'm at the doctor and you have a quick question, and they'll text me, hey, Katey, I have a quick question. Can I call you? Sure. Yeah. I'll pick up the phone at PT, you know, like that's fine. So yeah, I think health is everything. Health is the new wealth. Yeah,
no, that's crazy to hear that you go down, but your business keeps on going. It's incredible. If you're not having that remote aspect of your firm in place, holy cow, you know, you might have put a pause to your business. And so that just shows, like, being remote, virtual, you bring anything on, bring a pandemic, accident, you know, any obstacles, obstructions, bring it all on, right? And you just still keep going. So there's so many benefits. Now, what are some of the, we talked about the benefits. So how about some of the obstacles, right? A couple obstacles you think that someone would be thinking about, and how to kind of overcome them?
One of the things, I teach a lot of webinars for CPA Academy, and I teach one called Client Relations. And I think it's so important that when people don't know you, they've never met you, that one, you give them that face-to-face time on Zoom. Because even before the pandemic, a lot of people had never used Zoom. And I always tell my clients, we're going to use Zoom, at least at the beginning, so that you understand my tone, you understand my personality. Because if I'm sending you emails and you don't know my personality and you don't know my tone, you could be misread. You think I'm being short with you, you know. And another thing is, always read frustration emails. Like, I try to write them 3 times before I send them. Write it the first time the way you actually feel. Read it, adjust it, right? Read it again, adjust it again, because tone is everything when you're remote. You know, people don't know the tone, you know. In being short, sometimes I'm like, it takes so much effort to be like, hey, Bill, how are you? I hope you're doing well. And I just want to be like, Bill, you haven't sent me the checks I need, you know? But that would come off as rude and standoffish. I need to be like, hi, Bill, you know, I know we haven't talked in a bit. Did you by chance get around to, you know? The way that you say things is so much more important. Yeah,
no, that's well said on that too. I see how to communicate with your clients, very important, even your staff as well. But another one that I could think of are distractions, right? So, you know, I didn't have the I'm working remotely. I had this idea of my podcast today, and it didn't pan out, right? But still, I was focused on what I need to do, got something set up, boom, off we go, right? So you have to set yourself, the whole meeting, you have to put yourself in it. I couldn't just, you know, go anywhere. I had to have that right environment where I would be comfortable for this amount of time. So there's a lot of distractions working from home, especially if family, kids, pets, neighbors. I'm in New York City normally. There's just people everywhere. So how do you think overcoming distractions, with some ways to do that?
Definitely an obstacle. Another webinar I actually teach for CPA Academy, because it's such a huge deal, you know. I use TSheets. TSheets is a game changer for me. And I not only do I absolutely love the company, I've been with them since, I've been using them rather, since before they were even owned by QuickBooks. Back when Matt Rissell was the CEO. He's fantastic. But what I love about them is it, for me, is a mental clock in. Like, I'm not billing my clients hourly. I'm doing value-based pricing. So I'm not clocking my time for the purpose of billing it to the client. I'm clocking my time for the purpose of, okay, now you're on the clock, mentally go into work mode. I put my phone on do not disturb. I'm not checking social media, you know? And then when I'm not working on my clients, I am off the clock. I'm not checking work emails. I'm not looking at them. You know, if a client texts me and it's an emergency, of course, I'll take their call or their text. But I feel like it really helps you to be present when you're working and present when you're not, because otherwise you're sitting there being like, man, I should have checked some emails. I didn't really, you know, get this productive, or maybe I should be doing laundry. You know, I'm a woman, I'm at home, I don't have kids, but it's like, there's all the things I need to be cleaning the kitchen and doing laundry and all these things, you know, and on the clock, it's like, none of that matters. I'm at work.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a mental switch.
Yep. Yeah. So you just have to be very disciplined, right? And yeah, in order to avoid the distractions, you have to be disciplined, time management, set a schedule, and put yourself in a good environment too. You know, I mean, I got a chair here and a desk. That's all I need. But yeah, I still create a home office, you know, in your space, no matter whatever you can get off of Amazon or your local store in the neighborhood. Now, there's plenty of technology out there to utilize, but how the team? So now you have a remote team. Everyone's remotely working, no matter where. And how do you keep them engaged utilizing technology? Would you say?
We use all the technology. We love tech. So with my clients, I use Liceo. It's a new software. Have you heard of it? Are you familiar?
I've heard of it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I work with Liceo, and it's an app for my clients. I can request information. They can log in. My assistants can go in and request information from them, and they can upload that. So I've really loved working with them. In terms of working with my assistants, we use Slack if we need to text, basically. We use Asana for project management. We use TSheets for time tracking. What else do we use? Receipt Bank portal. Now Receipt Bank.
Did you find these on your own? Were you recommended?
Recommended.
How was your approach with your recommended? So it's best to ask fellow colleagues for what they're using. Because I know a lot of the product lines they have everything in one, but normally that should work, but it's best to get recommendations from colleagues, because I hear different types of practice management systems all the time. So there's so many. So it's like, where do you start?
It can be really overwhelming. And a lot of them, I find that a lot of them are almost too big. They want, the subscription that they want isn't conducive to a new business owner. You know, even in the accounting world, like, you're not going to pay, I think the most expensive one I pay for monthly is Receipt Bank. But outside of that, I'm not paying over $300 a month for any specific tech stack, you know, unless it is critical. But even then, I think I pay for any of them more than that because I have so many. If there was one that bundled it all, Liceo does a lot of it. But as they're new and they're rolling things out, I think I'll be able to kind of cut some of the other ones out and go full on in Liceo, because I really like their platform. I really like their company.
So get recommendations, work with them, and then some other you'll realize, you know, what you like, what you don't like, and kind of streamline it.
Yeah.
And so now, speaking on remote, right? So remote is just, you know, in the States, right? No, it's everywhere, right? On a global scale, which has opened up during this pandemic, has opened up the eyes to everybody that it could be offshore staffing. Are you currently working with any offshore staffing?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. And so how's the experience, and how has that been set up? It was just like setting up a remote employee, right?
Yeah. So the company is actually based in the US.
Okay.
But the people are remote.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in order to communication, all the softwares you said, it's still the same thing, right?
It's the same. Yeah. We found them through QuickBooks Connect. So they're trained the same way that I was trained. And it's the same way that the same processes I have my clients on. So it's so critical, I think, that we all are in the same mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're in the Philippines, or if you're in Philadelphia, or if you're in Miami, or you're in Mumbai, if you're in the UK, or if you're in the United States. I mean, it just really doesn't matter where you are. Working remotely is anywhere.
Right.
So this has been awesome. Do you have any other final thoughts or anything else you want to say?
I just want to encourage people to take the leap. I feel like people get nervous or they're scared. How am I going to find clients? But at the end of the day, people work with people they like and trust. You don't have to be the best accountant. And I'm not saying this to degrade people's skill, but like, people would rather work with somebody who's an 8 out of 10 accounting, but a 10 out of 10 in personality, or a 10 out of 10 in trust. They would probably even take a 6. I know that they do, because people come to me all the time whose books are a disaster, who had accountants. They had a 4 out of 10. They would even rather take a 6 out of 10 from an accounting skill level. If you're a 10 out of 10 in response, if you're a 10 out of 10 in trust, if you're a 10 out of 10 easy to work with, they want to work with somebody they can trust and understand, and that will answer their calls. The biggest thing that I find with new clients is they're leaving because the accountant doesn't answer their calls.
Right.
And I laughed and I said, I don't take calls. I do take calls. They're just scheduled. But I never miss a call. I'm always available on text. If they need me, I'm there. So I think that response is everything. And just start with your circle. Start with your warm leads. Everybody needs an accountant. So
yeah, no, you're spot on. And everything that you've been saying, I could kind of just get it along the lines of just always setting boundaries, right? Whether it be yourself, whether it be with your client, whether it be with your team, whether it be your entire company structure, have the boundaries in place and be positive, be cheery, be brightful, be happy, right? The clients, they like you. They're going to work with you. And then, and then look inside yourself and see, am I ready to make that leap to be remote? I think hearing these guys today, it's easy as cake, right? So yeah, but the idea is you have to have your boundaries, and you have to have the belief, and you just have to do it. You have to do it. And then as you're in the process of, you'll start seeing, okay, I can do this now. Where can I? A lot of times people think they just have to 100% the first time get it right. No,
I've never.
Yeah. Just have a plan. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Right.
So keep that mindset. But if you have a plan in place, and some things don't happen, you do a little bit quick fixes, and it'll work. It'll work. Hearing it from you, it worked since day one, and you were just put into a situation, and you loved it, right? So, well, that's all I have today. Katey, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and joining with me today remotely. We're both on vacation. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Any last thoughts for the audience today?
I had one more comment for them.
Go ahead.
Clients are so forgiving. I feel like new business owners are like, what if I mess up? The clients, in my experience, clients have never left over a mess up. If they left, it was because there was friction and their business model didn't match mine. You know what I mean? Either they wanted somebody who was in-house or whatever. It was, our business models don't line up, but it was never because I made a mistake. And if you do make a mistake and you call them and they don't find it, you find it first, right? Your job as the business owner is to find the mistakes if there are any.
Right.
I call them, I'm so sorry. I know I told you your number was A, your number is actually B. This is why it was different. I take full responsibility. It was my problem. I'm going to fix it. And the clients are usually like, don't worry about it. No problem.
Yeah, exactly. Again, well said, well said. For everybody, again, Katey Maddux, founder and CEO of Millennial Accounting. Thank you so much again. This was for hashtag BKOT, how to build a kick-ass offshore team.
Yeah.
Episode number 12 and going. Thank you for everybody for joining today. Please have a good weekend. Take care. Have a good night.
Bye.